Hi. How are you? Oh, this is nice. I should just do an entire episode like this. I hope everyone's having a great evening, a great day, whatever time it is that you're watching this. Hi. If you're new here, my name's Amanda. I'm a coach and a channel, and welcome to Messages from Spirit Live. What this is I sit down, I gather all my friends, and we channel a message from Spirit. And then I open up the floor for Q&A. So this is really an opportunity for you to step forward and receive a message. This is a message maybe that you've been looking to call in, something that you've been wanting clarity around, or questioning in your life that you haven't figured out how to navigate. And if you're feeling called to watch this video, that's probably because there's something in here for you. And there's a message that you've been needing that is available for you here. And then ultimately, it's up to you to decide if there's something still on your heart that you would like help processing or guidance around. And that is when you can just use the chat to ask. And I answer it, or I channel spirit to answer it, and I help guide you through whatever it is that's needed. So this is really an experience to get out of it as much as you're looking for, and you can watch quietly and you don't have to participate, or it's something that you can be as active in as you want to be. And I just welcome you here if you're feeling called to be here. Hi, Stacy. How are you? It's nice to see you as always. So maybe, Stacy, I'll ask you, since it's me and you right now, what would you like to get out of this experience today? I'm feeling called to ask you that. If there's something that you are feeling is needed today, if you would like to receive a message from spirit, or if there's like a topic that you would like to discuss in a little bit more detail, I want to know. I want to just like have a back and forth with you. If you want me to just tune in and see what spirit would like to share, I'm welcome to do that. Or I'm just kind of leave it to you to decide if there's something in particular that you're wanting to receive. And we'll just see where that takes us. Just going to tune in to see what they want to share. No, they love this. I'm just feeling down about asking for help with certain things. Oh no. Asking for help. You're feeling down about having to ask for help, or you're feeling down and you're needing help. If you can clarify that for me, that would be amazing. I want to be able to support you as best I can. And I'm just feeling guided to support you today. That's kind of where they're nudging me to go. And so I want to give you the floor, and maybe I can be here to help you in whatever way is needed. Since it's just me and you, I want to take advantage of that. For having to ask, I've got support. Okay. You're feeling down about having to ask for help. Is that something that you would like to talk through, or is that something that you just wanted to share today? I would love to know. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable with me, as always. Needing to ask for help can sometimes be a very vulnerable experience, and it often feels like it's a little bit frustrating to feel like we have to ask for help, that we can't be there to support ourselves in the way that we want to, or feel like we should be able to, or maybe we feel like we're not getting the support that we feel that we deserve or that we need or should be available, and then having to ask feels frustrating. Let's just see what messages they bring through. I always get something. Okay, absolutely. And I'll just check in with you here and there to see if if there's something on your heart that you want more of or need more of today. But I'm giving you a big virtual hug, and hopefully this can take your mind off of things just for a short period of time. Hi, Jaded Kate. How are you? Nice to have you here with us live. No problem. Okay, so let me see. What do you guys want to take us through today? Is there a message that you have for us today? Okay, oftentimes when I channel, it starts off as an image, and this image kind of unfolds slowly and gradually to reveal a message through a metaphor. And the image that they're showing me right now is of someone of you treading water, and you're exhausted, and you're there, and the water is too deep to be able to touch the floor, and you're just feeling the current and these waves and the wind, and you're reaching a point of complete exhaustion where you don't feel like you can keep going, and it's almost this precipice where you know that you can't stop because your life depends on it, but you don't know how much longer you can keep going. And it's that fight or flight fear response of you're reaching the limit, but you know that if you give up, it's over for you. And it's like that terrifying moment of realization where you're like, I, I don't know what to do right now. Oh my God, it's 2 a.m. Hopefully you can stay awake a little bit longer to hear what Spirit's trying to share with us today. But I understand if at some point you nod off. Okay. Okay, what else would you like to go with this? They're highlighting that many of us move through life feeling a similar experience to this, feeling like we're constantly being forced to tread water, and and almost as if like wondering how we got here. Like, how did we get ourselves into this situation in the first place? And and being aggravated and frustrated that we're here. Like, had we made a different choice, had things worked out differently, we wouldn't be in this predicament. But here we are, and now we're faced with this very scary and exhausting situation. And ultimately, it's up to us to save ourselves because there's nobody around. There's no boat that we can see. There's nobody coming to save us. We have no idea how long it could be before somebody realizes that we're missing and that we're in trouble. And oftentimes when we're treading water, it can feel that way. It can feel like, why is nobody around? Why am I so alone? Why am I suffering to the point of exhaustion, almost at the brink of like giving up, and yet I'm completely alone and hoping for somebody to come and rescue us, but at the same time having this fear at the back of our mind that there's not going to be anybody around and that we're going to have to figure this out for ourselves. And that is ultimately what they want to help us navigate today, is that sense of loneliness inside of our fear and our exhaustion, and the best way to navigate that. And they're saying there is only one way to navigate that, and that is trust that the experience of treading water can feel more draining than it really is. And they're just showing me this image of you realizing that you don't have to tread water, and realizing that you can actually switch positions and flipping over onto your back and floating. And yes, that still requires effort. It requires effort to reposition your body. It requires some effort to stay afloat. But when you reposition your body so that it's spread out on the surface of the water, the more surface area you take up, the less likely you are to feel like you're sinking and the less energy you're expending in the process. It gives yourself a chance to catch your breath, and it extends the amount of time that you can survive above water. And it also increases faith, faith that you're going to make it, faith that you can hang in there long enough for someone to notice that you're drowning, and faith that this situation is not um, as do or die as you may have originally perceived. And it's that shift in perspective, shift in positioning that is going to give that to you. And sometimes we aren't even aware that we are locked into one method of survival because all we're focusing on is staying afloat. But sometimes you have to take a deep breath, tune in, and ask yourself, is there another way to go about this? Am I missing something? Is there something I'm not seeing? And is there another position that I can reorient myself into to allow myself to feel a little bit more safe, a little bit less frantic? And they want to guide you through seeing whatever it is that you're going through a new lens that will offer you a different perspective and a different outlook and a different way of showing up so that you don't feel as exhausted or as lonely or terrified. And ultimately, what they want you to know is it's not necessarily about seeking for help or asking for help or waiting for someone to come and help you or save you. It's about recognizing that the situation itself is not as dangerous or deadly as you may be perceiving it to be. And it's almost that awareness that is going to give you um, the newfound energy that you're looking for. Can you expand on that? What it is that's creating the suffering and the feeling of exhaustion is oftentimes how you are approaching life, how you are seeing the situation that's being presented to you, and how you are feeling is necessary to navigate it. And feel, once you can what? Force yourself to take responsibility for the effort that you're expending. Then you can acknowledge that there's a current here, and the current can guide you once you reposition yourself. So once you're on your back and you're floating, you realize, wait, the water's pulling me in a certain direction, and letting the flow of energy guide you rather than feeling like you're fighting against the current. And that is ultimately the gift that they want to offer you today. If you're open to having a conversation about this, if you're open to receiving something more specific and personal to you, they would love to offer that to you so that this message can really be translated in a more specific way. And if that's not needed, that's totally fine. You can come back to this whenever you're ready to, and whenever you're um, looking for something like that. But they really want you to begin to reevaluate the situation that you're finding yourself in, how it's making you feel, and what might be required in order to refocus your refocus your narrative, conserve your energy, and Trust the flow that's leading you. Okay, anything else you want to say about this? They're just like, give them an opportunity to take this in, to reflect on it. And I just want to open it up to you guys that are here with me right now. How does this feel receiving this message? And is there something inside of this that you would like to navigate with spirit today? And they're totally open to keeping this short and sweet today if you're just not feeling it. They're just kind of explaining to me that the frustration that we often feel is what we perceive to be the source of our problem, but it's actually the frustration that is there to highlight what needs to be shifted in order to release the frustration that we're feeling, and that we are oftentimes the creator of that experience. And so they want to offer you an opportunity to be able to see your situation from a different light, take responsibility for the effort that you're feeling is required inside of it, and refocusing your attention elsewhere, which is ultimately what they're saying is going to release a lot of the weight that you're carrying. Thanks. That was very helpful. Back floating actually feels great. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say about this? There's a lesson here in becoming aware of the current beneath you. And if something is feeling rigorous, if you're feeling like you're pushing against the current, if you're feeling you're struggling to stay afloat, then that is a sign that you are not taking into consideration where you're being guided, that there's an easier way. And perhaps you've been so used to fighting and resisting and forcing and trying to make the situation that you're in work for you, but it doesn't need to be exhausting. There is a version of you that doesn't want to feel that way anymore and is trying to get you to notice that it's not working, and that there's something that needs to be adjusted or rearranged that is going to allow for more ease. And being able to witness whatever that may be might need to come from taking a step back and seeing things from a higher perspective. And that can come from meditation, that can come from asking a friend or family member, that can come from working with someone that you trust, like a guide or a therapist or a coach of some kind. But ultimately, they're saying life doesn't need to be hard. And what's interesting is they're just highlighting that oftentimes we like to create a paradigm where things do feel hard so that we can feel a sense of motivation to overcome it. And that there's a big part of a desire that we all have to overcome challenge. Because if we can sit back and say, wow, that was really hard. I did the thing, I overcame that thing. And now I'm on the other side of it. And I feel so accomplished and so grateful and so satisfied by that. That invigorates our sense of self, that validates the entire kind of position that we've been operating under, which is that I can do hard things and I'm rewarded when I do so. And I am seen and I'm celebrated for having done so. And that is a paradigm that a lot of us operate under, is feeling like that it, that we cannot create success without hardship first. And that is not necessarily true. That is a belief system that we have adopted and we have decided is true for us. And so we operate from that perspective. And they just want to reflect back today that there is an easier way to go about life, and that is by learning how to recognize the flow of energy, by feeling by taking ownership of where we might be afraid to try something different, and allowing ourselves to feel like a fish out of water as we attempt something new. And it is that avenue of like the uncertainty of something new and the fear of trying something new that we are actually avoiding by staying inside of a situation that feels challenging. We would rather be challenged by a situation that we understand and are familiar with than navigate a situation that we are not familiar with and that we have a lot of uncertainty inside of, even though it offers a more easeful experience. And that is the paradox. They're saying that there's a paradox here where we oftentimes choose our own suffering and choose our own struggle because it feels more predictable. It feels safer to choose a struggle that's familiar than a struggle that's not. And we cannot foresee that the unknown path will be more easeful and more comfortable, and therefore we choose not to attempt it. And so we remain inside of the same cycles of frustration and doubt and fear when the whole time there was another option here. It just ignited a lot of uncertainty. And ultimately, they're saying that is the lesson. The lesson is where we lack faith in our own ability to navigate situations that are unfamiliar to us, and where we hold ourselves inside of situations and paradigms and predicaments that don't feel good because at least we can predict them. And this is a lesson of being able to trust your instincts, trust your life experience, trust your mental fortitude, and trust life. Trust your energy, trust the energy that you feel and sense, and the energy of ease that's calling to you from an avenue that you have been unwilling to explore, because ease is actually not something that is familiar to you, and that's why you don't choose it. Oh, it's a tough lesson today. Is there anything else you'd like to say about that? Is there anything else you'd like to say about that? Yeah, they're saying ease comes inside of the willingness to feel that it's already here. And if we are treading water, it's because we're not giving ourselves a chance to catch our breath. And it's inside of taking a step back, taking a deep breath, and asking yourself, is there an alternate way of seeing this? Is there an alternate way of viewing myself in this situation and all of the potential options available to me? And is there a fresh perspective that will allow me to let go of the resistance that faith is offering me, that is holding me anchored into what is? I'm just gonna I'm just gonna take a break for a sec because I see some messages here. Stacy, I'm exhausting myself. Oh my God, I actually do that just to give myself motivated. I feel like I need pressure to have energy. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I know. It's we don't see it that way until it's reflected back to us. But when I started entrepreneurship, that became so apparent to me that I believed that things had to be hard. And if things were really hard, that meant I was doing something right. If I was working really, really hard, banging my head against the wall and completely exhausted, that meant I was succeeding, even though I wasn't really making any forward progress. But I was working really, really hard, and that's a sign of a job well done. And it took a really long time for me to shed that narrative and to begin to see that I don't have to expend that much energy to get the same amount of forward momentum. And actually, a lot more forward momentum can come from taking a step back, breathing, and asking myself, what is another way of doing this that feels uncomfortable? And that is why maybe I haven't desired to tread down that path. But maybe that is going to have all of the answers I'm looking for. And it feels uncomfortable, and it's going to force me to do things that scare me, and maybe that is actually what's needed, is to get out of my comfort zone because I'm so comfortable where I am, working my ass off and feeling proud of myself for doing that. Okay. Anything else you'd like to share? Yeah, they're saying pride is a big role inside of this kind of a dynamic. We really enjoy feeling proud of the effort that we're putting forward and the work that the accomplishments that we're able to do. And it is that same sense of pride that keeps us stuck. Is we don't want to feel out of our depth inside of a new environment and a new way of showing up, because that is actually we sense that there's going to be a lot more effort required to do that, because it's going to be so scary to show up differently. We don't actually have the evidence to know that that's true, but mentally that is what's going on here, is when there's an alternate path that we've never tried before, then there's a lot of unknowns inside of it. And if there's unknowns there, then we don't know how it's going to feel, and we're going to be uncomfortable or afraid as we move forward. And we foresee that that's going to be exhausting. And so we might as well be exhausted inside of what we know rather than exhausted inside of what we don't. Jaded Kate, my comment didn't show. I've been in hermit mode for years. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm here. I'm listening. If there's something inside of that you would like to share with me, I would be happy to bring forward some messages for you about that. Just let me know. If you guys are just wanting to receive a message today and not really have a back and forth, that's totally fine. I don't want to push you in a direction that doesn't feel good for you. But if that's something that you would like, let me know. Okay. Any final words that you would like to share with them today about this? Yeah, they're saying, really, if you're finding yourself inside of a situation like this where you're feeling run down, frustrated, and exhausted, and you are feeling alone and needing help, but but maybe it either doesn't feel like the help is available, or you're feeling like you're drowning despite feeling like the help is coming. What's needed is space to tune into here, because this is where all, and by here I'm touching my chest where my heart space is, because this is where your guidance is going to come from. This is where your truth is going to rise to the surface. That's going to highlight for you what's really going on here. What am I really afraid of? And where am I holding myself back from moving in a direction that might provide me with some relief because it feels uncomfortable to move that way? And navigate that process when you're ready to. Okay, Jaded Cake, great. I'm here. I'm open. Spirit is with us. You have the floor, my dear. Okay. I just feel like waiting for something. I'm going to ask you for some clarification. I know that you mentioned you've been in hermit mode for years. You feel like you're waiting for something. What do you want to say about that? What are you waiting for? They want to know, what are you waiting for? And Jaded Kate, if you're still here, feel free to respond, and we can have a back and forth. I would love to hold space for you through this, as long as you're wanting that support. You don't know. They're wanting more from you. I get the feeling like there's more here that you're holding back. There's a lot of mixed feelings here. What are you hoping to receive that's going to facilitate moving out of hermit mode, moving forward, where you have felt yourself sort of stuck? What would it look like, and what would that be? Let me know what comes up for you around that question. Another question that you can ask yourself is, some guidance. So what's coming through for me is, what is the fear inside of moving before receiving what it is you're waiting for? What do you fear inside of just going, just moving, just picking a direction and going? What does doing that bring up for you when you think about that? And take your time. I don't know what I'm supposed to move towards. Life is stagnant for me. Okay, I have some messages for you about that, but it's going to be, it might feel uncomfortable to receive because it's going to require taking personal responsibility. So, what I'm going to say is coming from a place of love and a desire to call you into your personal power. What they want to say to that is that you're creating the stagnancy. You're waiting. You're hoping to receive some sort of clarity, support, guidance, or sign or opportunity to present itself for you. And what they want you to know is that you create those things. You ignite the potential, the motivation, and the invigoration from within you by asking yourself, what do I want? And if you really don't know what you want, then what excites you? What feels interesting or fun or invigorating? And there's they're saying that there are things that you have thought of. And so it's not, the answer is not nothing. The answer is something. But ultimately, what you're misinterpreting is how to create the momentum you're looking for. And ultimately, it comes from taking action, not waiting for the signal or the sign or the clarity that you believe will point you in the right direction, because there is no one direction. There is simply the energy that you're feeling called to move towards. And that comes from what feels fun, what feels exciting, what feels passionate, what feels open and authentic and raw. And that is the direction, but it's coming from you. It's coming from you tuning in and asking yourself that question and then feeling brave to follow it. And that's how your path is going to materialize for you. And anytime you ask for a sign, it's going to come in the form of that feeling, a feeling of like a nudge or like, oh, that looks interesting. It's not going to come in the form of a big flashing light saying, go there, because ultimately there is no there. There is no there. There's just here. There's what's alive inside of here. And you create a reality that mirrors that feeling. And if that's a feeling you want to experience every single day, then you have to create from that feeling by following it. And it's going to lead you to places that you've never experienced, you've never given thought to, you've never been, because you've never given yourself permission to move that way. And that is how your life is going to open for you, and your path is going to kind of become a little bit more visible or clear, less cloudy. But it has to come from your willingness to get up and go and try things. Let me know how that resonates. I'm gonna stop there. If that feels like it answers your question, or if there's something, I feel like there's something else here that you're like holding a little bit. I feel like there's something in particular that's on your mind. I could be wrong. It also feels like you have been receiving signs. Oh, they're saying a lot. But there has been a willingness to disregard them because you're so focused on clarity, like being certain about something or being really clear on something, and it's sort of clouded your judgment a little bit. Um, and they want to remind you that there has to be a willingness to trust. Okay. I just want to become better at receiving messages from spirit because you never know if it's guidance or your own inner dialogue. What do you want to say about that? They're saying that there's a fear of your own guidance. There's a fear of trusting your own guidance. And that is what's creating the inner dialogue. That is what's creating the resistance of what you're feeling. And something that I feel like I need to talk about more is like what your intuition actually is and how it actually shows up for you. Your intuition is a feeling, my loves. It's a feeling. It's not going to be like an angel that appears in your mind that you see super clearly and goes, there you go, that way. Or it's not going to be like a voice that speaks into your ear really, really loudly and goes, the direction is X. It could be, but most of the time, that's not how it works, at least not at first. And I can tell you, for me personally, that's not how it works. And I've been doing this for 5 years. For me, it's all feeling. And what is required of you in order to tap into your intuition is to get into meditation and get present with your feelings. And your feelings are going to tell a story. And there's going to be many different feelings there. And it's about learning how to get comfortable with the feelings that are there and understanding why they're there and how they're showing you what's wanted, what's needed, and what's required in order to get more clear about all of those things. Is there anything else you want me to, how can you clarify this for her? They're saying, Jaded Kate, that you have been feeling a lot. There's a lot of like signs that you have been feeling, but you've been ignoring all of them because you keep wanting something that's much more clear. And they're saying it can't get more clear than how you feel, because ultimately that's what you're looking for. That is what we are all looking for, is to feel something. And usually if we're not feeling happy, then what we're looking for is a feeling that we're not feeling presently, but a feeling that we're hoping will become available in a future potential. If I could just understand the path, if I could just understand the message, if I could just create the reality I want, then I'll be able to feel differently. And I'll have access to that feeling that I don't have now. And what's really important to understand is it doesn't work that way. You can't create a feeling unless you're willing to feel it first. You can't create a reality from a feeling that is not there being the one creating it. What you're looking for is a feeling, that is a frequency. And in order to access that feeling and the reality that expands on that feeling, you have to be able to create the path to get there by feeling that feeling now and letting it guide you. And then what's going to happen is you just create more and more from the feeling, because the feeling is what's guiding it. And before you know it, your entire reality looks different, maybe, but it definitely feels different because you're allowing yourself to feel what you've always wanted to feel that you weren't allowing yourself to. So, what they want you to know is that you're actually very good at feeling your intuition. And that has been the missing link for you. is not knowing how to access your intuition when you've been doing it the whole time. You just didn't realize how it was being um, portrayed. And what they want you to know is that you've been feeling it and disregarding it, but it's that feeling that's been trying to guide you. And so the stagnancy you've been feeling is coming from your resistance to like the truth that's been trying to get your attention through felt sense. And if you're looking for something bigger than a feeling, they're saying then you are searching for something that can't be realized unless you allow yourself to feel good enough, to feel worthy, to feel loved, to feel every aspect of who you are unconditionally. Um, because ultimately, at the innermost layer, that's what's calling to you is the desire to just love who you are and to be invigorated inside of you in the life you live and are creating for yourself. And that has to come from your willingness to love who you are and love the life you live and create from a place of wonder and excitement. And the more you do that, the more you'll learn to trust that process and the more nuance and wisdom and perspective you will be able to articulate from those feelings. But first you have to be willing to feel them and acknowledge them and allow them to lead you. That was a lot. Process that. And let me know your thoughts. And I welcome any and all feedback, or if you're looking for clarity around anything that I said, let me know. It took me a really long time to understand this for myself. I used to think that psychics, mediums, channelers were like having these big, giant experiences. And I think sometimes they do. But I think on a day to day basis, it's very subtle. And ultimately, we came here to experience ourselves. That is where the magic happens. It's inside of you. It's inside of experiencing who you are with trust and with this like strong anchored sense of knowing. And that is how you experience the universe. That's how you experience source consciousness. That is what your intuition is. That is the gift it's giving you, is the experience of who you are. And that cannot be created outside of you unless you're willing to feel it inside of you first. The more I have, my meditations have changed over time, and right now they are mostly somatic experiences. I lie there and I feel sensations in my body. I feel feelings in my chest. And it's through those feelings that I begin to navigate. Okay, what is this feeling? Where does it come from? What is creating it? Like, what is the belief system here? Why am I feeling this right now? What do I need to do in order to release this feeling? And how do I want to feel instead? And that is ultimately what I do. And then once ultimately I let love in, I allow that feeling to be there, like perspective just comes inside of this like weird knowing of like, oh, but it's just a thought. It's not a voice inside of my head talking to me. It's not an angel appearing in the void. And I just have to trust the thought and move towards it. And over time, doing that over and over and over again has allowed me to develop trust inside of that process. And now I no longer question it. I just do it. And that is how my intuition works. Stacy, all very helpful. Amanda, when you were learning to be still and meditate and go inside, did part of you feel like you were being lazy? Oh my God, Stacy. Oh, your questions are always so intelligent and you're just amazing. Okay, that is such a good question. Yes, to answer your question very bluntly, I grew up inside of a household where not doing things, like not doing something was a problem. You were being lazy, you weren't being productive, like get up and do something, like go play outside or like develop a skill set, like put yourself to use. And I had to unlearn that because that was never mine. I adopted that, but that was never mine. That was whoever taught that to me, that was their stuff, not mine. And when I started entrepreneurship really is a vehicle for inner child work, to be quite frank. And I started having daily panic attacks. I wasn't sleeping at night. Had to take an Ambien to fall asleep, and eventually that stopped working. I spiraled hard, and I ultimately didn't have a choice other than reevaluating everything, and I hired somebody to help me work through that, and it was a process. But the way I was operating wasn't working anymore, and I had to allow for spaciousness to be a part of my productivity. And now I see things completely differently, where my meditation is the most productive part of my day because it is my chance to be with me. I no longer find my validation inside of like productivity for the sake of outcomes. Um, like I don't need more things in order to feel whole. I just want to feel whole, period. And it is through meditation that I can access that energy inside of me, and it is priceless. And I prioritize that above everything else. But that was a process to unlearn that. And I did need to hire help to do that. Stacy, I'm worried if I spend too much time learning to be peaceful instead of causing chaos for motivation, I will get depressed because I'm not used to being calm for so long. The depression is not going to come from the peaceful activity. The depression is going to come from the judgment of the activity that you're using to find peace. And that is a really important distinction to make. It is the judgment or the shame that's creating the mental anguish, not the meditation experience or the relaxation experience. And it is ultimately like the conditioned belief system that is holding you hostage inside of whatever chaotic experience you're having. And so it's learning how to ultimately like release the judgment, release the shame, but how you release it is through acceptance. You can't release something by pushing it away and trying to get rid of it. The part of you that judges and the part of you that shames, if you try to get rid of that part, you are further judging and further shaming that part. And so you're just exacerbating the judgment and the shame that you feel. And so rather than pushing it away, you actually want to bring it in. You want to hold space for your judgment and your shame, a loving, beautiful, safe space to allow it and to be like, it's almost like reparenting your inner child is really what it is. And this can be done in a multitude of different ways. It can be done through a guided experience. It can be done through somatic work. And it can be done through like an inner child dialogue. It can be done through journaling. But ultimately, it's showing love to the part of you that has been asking for it. And when you love the part of you that shames or love the part of you that judges, then you just feel love. And you are unconditionally loving who you are rather than conditionally loving. And it is through unconditional love that you access peace. And so the activity moves from one of shameful, like discomfort, to one of peaceful allowance. And there's sometimes a process required there. It doesn't necessarily happen right away. It can. But sometimes it requires a process to rewire that belief system. And it's the willingness to allow for that process that is going to grant it to you. Let me know how that feels. And that is literally everything that I do is teaching you how to do that through guided meditations, through one-on-one coaching, through all of the like lessons that I teach. It is unconditional acceptance and allowance of what is, because it's only through what is that we can create more of what is. But if what is judgment and chaos and shame, and you don't allow yourself to navigate it, sit with it, feel it, like accept it, then you're just going to be shaming and judging the shame and the judgment, and then further exacerbating that. And then you just feel that, and then you just live that, and then you just create that, hoping that at some point you're going to be able to outrun that. But you can't outrun a belief system because you're always projecting that belief system onto your environment. And it is through that process that we create. We create based on how we feel. And we just create, and project how we feel onto that creation. And that's what's spurring the very creation process in the first place. Let me know how that sits with you. I'm going to give you guys a final few minutes to ask any additional questions that you might have about this. I didn't foresee this going this way today, but I think that this is a very powerful conversation, and I'm so glad that it's unfolding like this. And I hope that this has offered you something that was helpful, and that you have people in your life that can assist you with this process. And I'm always here. Is there anything else that you guys want to leave them with for today? They're just saying trust the circumstances that you find yourself in. I think we often get frustrated by the circumstances we find ourselves in and then try to fix them, change them. We judge them, we shame them, we judge ourselves, we get frustrated with ourselves, and it kind of holds us hostage inside of the very energy that we're trying to escape from. And they're saying just trust the wisdom inside of the experience that you're having, because it is that very realization that's going to offer you a way through it. Can you just expand on that a little bit? When you don't trust that the experiences that you're having are there to show you something, then you aren't open to seeing the lesson. But if you can observe your circumstances more objectively and ask yourself, what inside of this situation am I refusing to shift and allow for something new, then you can begin to see the way through. And it most of the time requires going in. The way through, we tend to think, is some situation out there. It's in first. Through this process of self-reflection, of shifting our own energy, shifting our own perspective, and then showing up from a new place will offer a new opportunity for different action and outcome. And that is the productivity that you're referring to. They want to show you how that productivity unfolds. And it comes from the time that you take to be in stillness with you. Jaded Kate, I have low energy to get up and do something. I'm a hoarder and it's created a problem with my landlord. What do you want to say about that? They're reflecting back to you that the clutter that you're perceiving around you is the clutter that you're feeling inside. And the first step to finding the energy you're looking for is to tune in and feel it there. And they're saying the message remains the same. You have to be willing to tune in and feel what's there rather than becoming distracted by the scenarios taking place outside of you. Because they're saying there is a very obvious through line here that is going to lead you into a different way of life, like of circumstances, and you are denying it because you're not giving yourself permission to feel what's there openly and trust it. There's some fear there inside of doing that. And the first step for you is understanding what that fear is, why it's there, and how to allow that fear to show you the way. But it's going to require getting uncomfortable. Okay. Thank you all so much for being here with me today. Thank you for being open. Thank you for being vulnerable. And thank you for allowing some beautiful wisdom to come through today. I hope that this offered you something. I'm here. They're reminding me to remind you that I am here. I'm a resource for you. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling frustrated, reach out to me. I can be of help for you if you're willing to receive it. So you don't have to go through this alone. And if it's not me, there's so many people out there that are willing and open and in line to help you. You just have to ask. You just have to be brave enough to ask. Have a great rest of your day, your night, your morning. And I will see you guys next week. And Jaded Kate, I don't know if you know, but I've been doing meditations, guided meditations on Mondays, and I encourage you to come and check it out. You might feel some resistance inside of doing it, but it might offer you an opportunity to learn what it is that I'm speaking to. So, and you can watch the replays as well if you don't feel comfortable joining live or if it's not at a good time for you. Okay, sending you guys so much love. You're welcome. And I'll see you next week. Bye.